respondents after the NEC meeting, saying the framework emphasizes equity, inclusion, and ensuring no community is left behind. Zulum noted also that council members commended the Office of the National Security Advisor for what they described as a comprehensive and visionary plan. However, NEC resolved that the scope of the framework should be expanded to cover more states, with a final document to be presented for ratification at the next meeting, adding that the council stressed the need for a medium and long-term sustainable solutions to reduce or prevent flooding, rather than relying only on short-term responses. Additionally, states were urged to step up the risk communication to vulnerable communities through radio, town halls, and state-owned broadcast channels, and while also strengthening emergency management agencies with improved funding, equipment, and training. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Atiku Bagudu, furthermore disclosed that the National Economic Council (NEC) received a briefing on the upcoming 31st Nigerian Economic Summit, scheduled for October the 6th to 8, 2025, at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. And also briefing the State House correspondents after the NEC meeting, the ministries of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Tayo Aduloju, informed the Council that the summit-themed imperative, building a prosperous and inclusive Nigeria by 2030, will focus on reform, sustainable development, inclusivity, and a global economic shift.
The issue of flooding is becoming one of the worrisome phenomena in Nigeria. And therefore, today, Council was briefed by the National Security Advisor on framework for riverine flooding in Nigeria. The objectives of the anticipatory action framework include, but not limited to, protect vulnerable households, enable timely and dignified interventions before flooding peaks, focus on equity, and amongst others. Has commended the Office of the National Security Advisor for the work done, as reflected in the presentation describing the framework as comprehensive and visionary. However, Council resolved that the scope of the framework has to be widened in order to include more states and submit final document for ratification. The inclusion of measures that will be taken to ensure medium and longer term sustainable solutions that will prevent flooding or reduce the flooding, rather than the shorter term non-sustainable solution. On a final note, the presentation.
National Economic Council also received briefing by Dr. Tai and the private sector, and this is the 31st edition. Elements including the reform landscape, policy direction for sustainable development, inclusive reform imperative, global growth, geopolitical tensions, rising climate geopolitical tension rising, climate and technological shifts, place at a time when we are reviewing the National Development Plan, which the 2021 to 2025 plan is finishing by December, and therefore we are developing the 2026 to 2030 plan, as well as have already called upon us to achieve a $1 trillion economy by the year 2030. The National Economic Council have approved a number of initiatives, including the Renewed Hope World-Based Development Program. So all this will form part and parcel of the discussions at the summit. The Chief Executive duly notified the Council of the invitation to both Mr. President, His Excellency the Vice President, as well as Excellencies and vibrant discussion that will help shape the future.
ECHO has released the 2025 Senior School Certificates Examination SSCE internal results, with 60.26% of candidates securing 5 credits and above, including mathematics and English language. Announcing the result at the Council headquarters in Mina, the Registrar and Chief Executive Prof. Dentani Ushishi said that 1,367,210 candidates registered, and while 1,358,622 candidates with special needs also participated, covering the categories such as hearing and visual impairment, albinism, autism, and low vision. The NECO bus further disclosed that examination malpractice cases dropped by 61.58%, with 3,878 incidents recorded in 2025 compared to 10,094 in 2024. But nonetheless, 38 schools across 13 states were indicted for maths cheating and would face sanctions, and while 9 supervisors in Rivers, Niger, the FCT, and Kano and Osun State would be blacklisted. He added that the results from 8 schools in Lamode local government area of Adamawa was the communal clashes that disrupted the exams. The registrar, however, commended President Bola Tinubu and the Federal Ministry of Education for supporting NECO's reforms to wait for the release of the result by all examining bodies before finalizing admissions.
Is 1,622 candidates, with the breakdown as follows. Roman 1. Candidates with hearing impairment, 586 male, 55 female. Excuse me. Candidates with 96 female. Number of candidates involved in various forms of malpractice in 2025 is 3,878 candidates, as against 10,094 candidates in 2024, which shows a reduction of 61. Please see the following tables as projected on the screen. Table 1 and 2.
The United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, has pledged a continued support for the programs of President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope by the UNICEF country representative, Ms. Wafa Saeed Abdulatif, at the presidential villa on Wednesday, described the collaboration as a step in the right direction. He said that President Tinubu has redefined the efforts to promote economic and financial inclusion. Shatima noted that the administration remained determined to invest in youth and education, stressing that the impact of the ongoing reforms is already visible in the economy. Ms. Abdulatif, however, commended the government's commitment to nutrition and education, especially for the girl child, and assured of UNICEF's unwavering. The Association of Nigerian Artisans and Technicians has announced that the second edition of the National Artisans and Technicians Exhibition and Fair will hold in Abuja from September the 23rd to September the 27th. Speaking at a press briefing, the fair is designed to promote skills development, craftsmanship, national unity, and economic growth through local production. He described the NATEF as a walking exhibition aimed at stimulating economic growth by promoting local production and empowering artisans and technicians across the country. Akinyemi further disclosed that in collaboration with the Presidential Initiative on Compressed Natural Gas, more than 100 petrol-powered vehicles will be converted.
Today, we gather to official 2025, promoting skill development, craftsmanship, national unity, and mutual acceptance. NATEF is a working exhibition designed to stimulate economic growth by promoting local production and processing activities, supporting artisans and technicians nationwide. We envision NATEF as an annual tourism event, attracting international visitors to witness Nigerian artisan exhibition skills. We urge all stakeholders, including state governors and lawmakers, to support NATEF by sponsoring local artisans and technicians. This event will showcase the Nigerian rich cultural diversity, promote cross-cultural understanding, CNG conversion of over 1 public.
The Lagos State government has ordered the immediate suspension of all reclamation projects across the state. Citing environmental risk, the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, announced the directive in a press release issued on Thursday. Wahab said the ministry observed the concern the proliferation of reclamation activities on wetlands, floodplains and lagoons statewide. Osborne Ikoyi, Victoria Island Extension, Lekki Ajah, Waroshoki and parts of Ikorodu. The Commissioner warned that many projects lacked a proper environmental impact assessment approvals and drainage clearance from the ministry. He explained the reclamation, though beneficial for housing and infrastructure, carried risk of flooding, erosion, and ecosystem disruption. And the Lagos State government has pledged to intensify efforts to safeguard lives and property across the state following the Tuesday's fire outbreak at Afriland Towers, a 6-story commercial building on Broad Street, Lagos Island, which claimed 7 lives. Briefing the newsmen in Lausa, the government extended condolences to the families, organizations and Lagosians who lost the loved ones and valuables in the tragedy, and urging the public to remain calm during emergencies to avoid preventable casualties. Emergency responders explained originated from the basement of the building and that their response was swift despite speculation circulating in some quarters. They cautioned against spreading unverified information and indicting the government, stressing that the priority was saving lives and preventing the inferno from spreading further. Speaking at the briefing, Commissioner for the Information and Strategy, Benga Omatosha, reaffirmed the government's commitment to prompt and effective to ensure that agencies deliver efficiently. The state government further sympathized with the traders at Central Plaza near Mandela's Market, who also lost goods worth millions of naira in a separate fire incident on the same day.
We will continue to assure the safety of Lagosians. The state government led by Mr. Governor has invested heavily in safety protocols and emergency response. It was the second-hand effect of smoke that quickly traveled through the building that knocked people out. The carbon monoxide knocked people out. And we're also using this opportunity to state that people that have high-rise buildings, whether places or residential buildings, should continue to register their buildings on our platform. The platform is LSDSafetyReg.com. Owners of high-rise buildings should please, we repeat again, they should please upload their property assets onto this platform so that we can carry out the...
Kindly, the fire service received the response time at 13:38, which is to 2, and we responded, arrived at the scene of emergency, the Afriland, at 13:56. The building itself, when I carried out inspection there, I found out that there are fire exits, like 3. There was ringing as at the time of the incident. Does it mean the people? I want to relate this emergency to anxieties. The victims were so anxious.
On the release of 3 Nigerian pilgrims detained in Saudi Arabia over alleged drug trafficking, NDLEA spokesperson Femi Babafemi said the development followed the high-level engagements between the agency and Saudi authorities. He added that the freed pilgrims would soon return to of their luggage before departure to avoid being implicated by drug dealers. He also acknowledged the support of the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, son, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Yusuf Tuga,
for alleged drug trafficking. The probe led to the arrest, that is, all our efforts thereafter, led to the arrest of 55-year-old drug kingpin Mohammed Ali Abubakar, alias Bello Karama, and 3 other members of the syndicate, including the airline officials behind it. Charges had since been filed against Mohammed Ali Abubakar and others of its syndicates, who are namely Celestina Emmanuel Yayok, Abdulbasit Adamu Sagagi, and Jazuli Kaba. Armed with the outcome of NDLA investigation and charges filed against members of the syndicate, as well as other evidences to prove the innocence of the 3 Nigerian pilgrims, our Chairmanship Executive General Mara had engaged with his Saudi counterpart at multiple levels and different locations, including in Saudi Arabia, in compliance with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's agenda that no Nigerian suffers unjustly in a foreign land. We are therefore happy to inform you that following the series of engagements, he was released from custody on Sunday, the 14th September, and the remaining 2 on Monday, 15th September 2025, just 2 days ago. As we speak, they will be arriving in Nigeria anytime shortly. We therefore seize this opportunity to express the Chairmanship Executive Officer's happiness over this development, while he commended his counterpart at the Saudi GDNC, that's General Directorate of Narcotics Control, for upholding the essence of the Memorandum of Understanding between NDLA and GDNC on collaboration and partnership. We'd like to reiterate and never abandon its citizens, especially when the facts clearly show that they are victims of criminal conspiracies, as in this case, as established in this case. We again assure the public of the agency's unwavering commitment to use and illicit drug trafficking in the country, with no sacred cows in our enforcement duties, which can be attested to by the number of high-profile arrests, seizures, and
Christian clerics have admonished Nigerian churches to collaborate with the government in fighting insecurity and restoring peace to the nation. The call was made at the opening of the Giant Killers Conference 2025, organized by the Foundation of Truth Assembly, FOTA, in Lagos, where leaders urged the government to take a decisive step to end the worsening security crisis. Presiding Bishop of the Redeemed Evangelical Mission, TREM, Bishop Mike Okonkwo, said the government alone cannot handle the challenges of the insecurity, which has become a national concern. He stressed that while security is primarily the responsibility of the government, Nigerians and churches must unite to address the situation. Senior Pastor of FOTA, Reverend Yomi Kasali, noted that the government could do much more to address insecurity. He further charged the church to live up to its calling as the salt of the earth and the light of the world. On his part, Apostle Anselm Madubuko, the founder of Revival Assembly Ministries International, urged to intensify prayers so that the leaders can wake up to their responsibilities.
The only way the church can do is to partner with the nation, with the government, and act there is insecurity, and not try to hide behind the curtain. And this speak up, and the government's responsibility to provide security for the citizens. And so they need to know that that the citizens are very concerned that they are not carrying out their responsibility, and if they are not, they should step down from the position. There is no need occupying the position where you are not performing.
The church is the salt of the earth and the light of the world, that we should be able to much felt in our society. That it's important for us to try as much as possible to let our impact be felt beyond buildings and beyond big names. And that's what the bishop said, and I truly concur with that thought and that opinion. That's ours as well.
The church is supposed to be the strongest because of Jesus, but because we have gone the other way, just like Bishop said, our responsibility is to grow in the knowledge of Jesus, and it is that builds us up. You understand me? So when the church begins to grow in this knowledge, then the church will have its mojo back.
That are not mature enough, and when they're not mature enough, they go into university and they are easy to influence them by some of the elements there that are bad. And then we now say it's government. What did government do? Except maybe they are not enforcing their own laws. We need regulations, right? So for me, those would be the things that I think we ought to do. Of course, religious organizations, we need to teach children beyond just saints to grow, right? We need to get them to grow and to know that this is wrong, this is right. There is no more wrong or right. When I was growing up, your name is the money you have.
The residents of Shagamu have erupted in anger after the Ogun State government announced the suspension of a federal road reconstruction project that had been approved under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, and saying the move was an attempt by Governor Dapo Abiodun to undermine the federal government. The Padi Arikawoye Igbimo Road, which was facilitated by Senator Otumba Gbenga Daniel, representing Ogun East, in a bid to bring long overdue development to Shagamu and adjoining communities, was awarded by the presidency through the Border Communities Development Agency, BCDA. However, within just 24 hours of commencement, the contractor was ordered to down the tools. In a letter signed by the Permanent Secretary of Ogun State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, Engineer Dr. Yusuf L.O., the state government directed the immediate use the presidency of negating the non-construction on what is described as a state government road. The decision was sparked outrage in Shagamu, where residents accused the state government of pettiness and insensitivity. The residents said there are thousands of dilapidated roads across Ogun begging for attention, and yet instead of welcoming a federal project, the governor is blocking it. This is the height of insensitivity. He has no empathy for the people, fumed one resident. And a civil rights group has submitted a public petition to the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Professor Netawe Yilwatda, calling for the urgent intervention. According to the petition, the group, led by Executive Director Mike Acton, on behalf of Achema Akba, the Managing Director of Zoe New Dawn Nigeria Limited, and several affected subscribers. The group alleged that Okachukwu, through his company, Chubi Nigerian Limited, US in 2022 for a land deal in the Lugbe area of Abuja, but has since failed to allocate the land or refund the money. Is by Okachukwu. Correspondent Miriam Inakiman reports that the group further references a recent incident at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja, where tensions escalated after a chance encounter between Mr. Okachukwu and one of the aggrieved parties. They say the situation resulted in a stampede, which they insist had no political motivations. Olurufemi said have suffered a severe personnel. The group insists it has no political affiliations and is only focused on the funds. The group emphasized that it is ready to suspend public protests if a resolution is reached, warning that continued silence may harm the party's image ahead of the upcoming gubernatorial election.
To the national chairman of innocent Nigerians this morning, and that is why we are here. We will not leave here until this agreement is covered, and that is why we want the national, as a matter of urgency, the national chairman of APC should address us this morning and tell us why the candidacy of Senator Nicholas Ukachukwu should not be cancelled. I will not proceed. After here, Ukachukwu should not be cancelled. I will not proceed. After here, we will still proceed to Anambra State and ensure that justice is served to the people. That's why we are here this morning. And we will not be quiet. Nobody is served to the people. That's why we are here this morning. And we will not be quiet. Nobody can silence the civil society. The right of the people must be adhered to. And we have known APC to be transparent. We have known APC with integrity. And we are sure that they will comply and abide by what we have come to do this morning. And that is why we know that the national chairman, who is credibly elected, have the capacity to make sure that the right thing is done to the people and the innocent Nigerians, because their money must either be refunded.
That's it on the local news. We'll now take a short break. When we'll come back, we'll take some stories from the foreign scene.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point oh.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as your banker. Progress na small wind where they carry.
No worry, yourself go make am. No go buy ball.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Welcome back. In the foreign scene, Thursday received 1,000 of Russia that Moscow said were of fallen Ukrainian soldiers. A Kyiv government agency announced that repatriation measures took place today at 1,000 bodies, which according belong to the Ukrainian servicemen that have been returned to Ukraine. And Ukraine's coordination headquarters for the treatment of prisoners of war said on Telegram that Ukrainian returned the bodies of 24 Russian soldiers in exchange, said another government body that provides information on Russian prisoners of war and missing Russian soldiers. The repatriation of soldiers' bodies and the exchange of POWs are some of the only areas of cooperation between Ukraine and Russia amid the war. Tens of thousands of soldiers have been killed on both sides since Russia invaded in 2022. Though neither side regularly publishes data on their own casualties, but despite a US-led push to end the conflict through diplomatic efforts and 3 rounds of direct talks between Kyiv and Moscow, progress towards stopping the fight appears to have been stalled. And last week, the Kremlin said that peace talks between Russia and Ukraine were on pause. An Australian pledged on Thursday to slash the planet-warming greenhouse gas emission by up to 70% from 2005 levels over the next decade. A target activists warned was not ambitious enough, but under the landmark Paris climate record, each country must provide a headline figure to the United Nations for cutting the heat-trapping emissions by 2035 and a detailed blueprint for getting there. But however, only about 40 countries have submitted their climate plans so far, and despite the United Nations pressure for the government to file them this month ahead of the COP30, The annual climate conference set for November, China is expected to unveil its 2035 emission target in the next few days before a climate summit in New York and held alongside the UN General Assembly. Australia is a leading coal exporter and its pledge has been closely watched given its bid to host next year's UN Climate Summit alongside the Pacific Island neighbors threatened by rising seas. The announcement also came days after a national climate risk assessment warned that rising oceans and flooding caused by climate change would threaten the homes and livelihoods of more than millions of Australians by 2050. And Britain on Thursday returned the first migrant to France under a new one-in, one-out deal. Both governments confirmed as London bids to curb highly contagious cross-channel small boat arrivals. The UK Interior Ministry said who had arrived abroad a small boat in August on a commercial flight. The French government also confirmed the removal with a source telling the AFP that London had returned an Indian national. The British Interior Minister Shabana Mahmood hailed an important first step to securing our borders and insisting it sent a message that if you enter the UK legally, that we will seek to remove you. Under the scheme, the UK can detain and return small boat migrants arriving the channel if they are deemed ineligible for asylum, including those who have passed through a safe country to use the UK shores. French President Emmanuel Macron said that he expected international sanctions against Iran to be reinstated by the end of the month in the excerpt from an Israeli television interview broadcast on Thursday. And when asked by the channel, the 12th journalist, whether the sanction on Tehran would return, and at the end of this month, Macron replied, and I quote, "Yes, I think so, because the latest news we had from the Iranians are not serious," end of quote. Britain, France, and Germany, all signatories to a 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran last month, triggered a mechanism to eventually snap back the UN sanctions. France has always been a very told the Israeli news channel from Paris, and I think that this is very important for your country and your people. He addressing Israelis among whom his plan to recognize the Palestinians at the UN on Monday is widely unpopular. And we now take a short break. Where we'll come back, we'll take some stories in sport. Welcome back in sports. Nigerian Super Eagles have slipped further in the latest FIFA Men's World Rankings, falling to 45th globally and once again dropping out of Africa's top 5. These latest decline places Nigerian 6th on the continent, trailing behind several long-standing rivals. Morocco remains Africa's highest-ranked team, sitting 11th in the world after securing an early continent's second-best side at 18th globally, with Egypt 35th and Algeria 38th, rounding out the top 4. Cote d'Ivoire, buoyed by a consistent run of results, have climbed to 44th in the world, overtaking Nigeria to claim the 5th place in Africa. But Tunisia also made gains, rising 3 spots to 49th. Cameroon, South Africa, and Mali complete Africa's top 10. Nigerians continue to slide and closely tied to their recent form, with the team managing just 2 wins in their last 5 matches, alongside 2 losses and a draw.